It was early enough that I was just starting thinking about all the stuff that I had to do that day when my phone rang. And it was a very good friend of mine. He asked me, are we still having the golf tournament? It was for a nonprofit that I was connected with. And I said, of course, why not? He said, aren't you watching TV? I said, no. I never turn the TV on in the morning. He said, you better turn it on. Well, Mr. Mayor, Senator Brown, thank you for this invitation to come and share my thoughts with you on this important day. It is my honor this evening to join you along with others across these great United States to remember one of the most shocking and publicly traumatic events in our nation's history, the attack on the World Trade Center in New York and the Pentagon in Virginia. The attack was by foreign forces who were bent on destroying our sense of security and creating a reign of terror. And 14 years later, images from that day still scorch all of our minds. Most of all, still remember exactly where we were, what we were doing, and what we were thinking. Whether you were law enforcement or a firefighter or in the military or just going about your regular day, you were as stunned as the rest of us, especially at the moment of realization that the second plane hit the towers and that this was no single accident, but a deliberate, planned attack. Their goal, disrupt our lives. Now, we could have canceled that golf tournament, and I thought about canceling that golf tournament, and I decided, no, I'm not going to let them do that to us. And it was the right decision. As we were able to be with friends, we were able to talk with each other, we were able to share our feelings that day. It happened to be at the Fort Lewis golf course, and the military were lining up down the freeway to get back to do their job to protect all of us. Now, the pro at the golf course, a couple of years later, he talked to a high school students, and he said he questioned the decision. And he wondered whether it was the right thing to do. He decided it was very much the right thing to do for many of the reasons that I just said. And he said we all needed to be together. And the net effect is it once again, as tragedy always does, it brought out the greatness, the strength, and the resolve of Americans across our great nation, and we obviously never forget. So, in ceremonies across the nation such as this one today, we remember and grieve those who gave their lives that day. We stand in places like this beautiful memorial and honor those who are willing to put their lives on the line day in and day out so that the rest of us can live and work in safety and security and in comfort. The most recent example of this is in the state of Washington, where there are thousands who have been battling the wildfires that have consumed so much of our state. We remember the 3 Forest Service firefighters who did not return from duty on August 19th when the wind suddenly shifted and overcame them near Twist. Like the firefighters lost on 9/11, these men knew the risk and went to face the danger without hesitation. We think about our military personnel, some who have also joined the wildfire fight. As a matter of fact, over 1,000 of our military have joined the wildfire fight. They are in a constant state of training and readiness to go overseas as well, to defend our nation's interests, even if it means paying the ultimate price of life to do so. Remember the 2 law enforcement officers, one with the State Patrol and the other with the Chehalis Police Department, who lost their lives in the line of duty this year. Even we remember the 2 dogs who were also killed in service. And today we also remember Sirius, a New York, New Jersey Port Authority Police Department canine that was the only dog killed in the 9/11 attacks. Now, none of my kids or my grandkids have chosen to go into law enforcement, fire service or the military, although I have many family members who have. And I would be extremely proud of my kids or grandkids if they chose to wear any of these uniforms. But I would also be in fear for them. I couldn't help it. I just watched an incredibly disturbing and at times very moving 6-minute video. And actually it was a, I guess if you can say, collage of actual police videos. It wasn't the one on the news of a police officer using questionable force against a suspect that we occasionally see. But it was the horrendous situation where that officers find themselves in. For instance, being shot at what they think is a routine traffic stop. Or the one suspect in a vehicle trying to hide a gun in his pants and the police officer seeing it and struggling to get it away from him. And one of the most amazing parts of this video is something we don't think about all the time. And it was the police officer breathing life back into a baby in the back of a car. And that was followed up by a segment of a wife and a father receiving flags at a memorial service for their loved ones that they lost. While we must have and show and will show great respect for all of our citizens in uniform, be assured that we also remember and honor the families who support them every day, yet live with that little question of fear every day. To you, the families, you are much of who the officers, the soldiers, and the firefighters are, and we thank you so much as well. In the first hours after the attacks that morning, there was nothing that could be done other than we could talk to each other as we did. We could stay close by our televisions to watch the buildings burn and collapse from the fires, along with scenes that are still difficult to recall. When it was finally over, there was nothing but dust and rubble where the two of the tallest buildings in the world had stood. For all of us, it was a day of disbelief, of terror, of horror. The only comparison in recent modern times was the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. The big difference was that we knew right away who our attackers were at Pearl Harbor, but we didn't know immediately who was responsible for the 9/11 attacks. All we knew at first is that 2 passenger airlines hit the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center within 18 minutes of another. Then an hour later, another jet slammed into the Pentagon, and finally we received word that yet another jetliner, United Airlines Flight 93, had crashed in a field in western Pennsylvania before it could reach its target. We would only find out in the days that followed that a militant Islamic extremist group called Al-Qaeda was to blame. Within hours of the attack, we had heard about the ensemble of heroes on board Flight 93 who, because of their flight was delayed, knew about the other buildings' attacks prior to takeoff, then rushed to overtake the hijackers on their flight. Passenger Thomas Burnett Jr., the vice president of a company that sells medical devices, told his wife by cell phone that they were going to die, but they were going to do something about it anyway. Then passenger Todd Beamer, a software salesman, uttered his defiant command, "Let's roll." Their words and actions we also honor today. A high school over in Federal Way on the west side is named for Todd Beamer, and their motto is, "Let's roll." In addition to this incredible memorial in Kennewick, there are 9/11 memorials in Bremerton and Moses Lake and Cashmere and other places as well. They each honor the lost and also pay tribute to the many heroes of that chaotic morning. Hundreds of firefighters and law enforcement personnel rushed into the World Trade Center grounds and climbed the tower stairways to rescue those trapped above. 412 never came back. And after the Boeing 757 slammed into the Pentagon, soldiers and civilians alike rushed into the fray to evacuate and aid the victims. Certainly many heroes that morning died while selflessly trying to help others escape the fires and the crashing debris. Many things happened in the days and the years after that terrible morning, and too many of us have been directly affected by the attacks. In the aftermath, there were wars and conflicts, the tightening of national security, and the hate crimes against our fellow citizens. Whether you agree or disagree with the outcomes, we can all agree that 9/11 gave our nation an immediately a feeling of solidarity as we joined together to raise ourselves from the depths of despair and tragedy to new heights of national resolve. This magnificent memorial, erected from some of the very beams that once